I'm Jeremy Wickremer of Transformational Media, interviewing Satish Kumar today for International Permaculture Day. The theme for this year's Permaculture Day on the 5th of May is Grow Local, which covers food, energy, shelter, economy and other areas relevant to community life. So, good morning Satish.
Good morning.
How are you growing local where you live in Devon?
I live in North Devon, a village called Heartland. I used to live in London, but I decided that what we are publishing in Resurgence and The Ecologist is living ecologically, sustainably and resiliently. Life in London is too far away from land and food and growing. And so my wife and with 2 children and myself, we moved to Devon, North Devon, village of Heartland, where we have 2 acres of land. So we grow everything you can imagine, potatoes, carrots, peas, beans, rhubarb, gooseberries, raspberries, strawberries, blackcurrants, apples, pears, plums, everything. 2 acres is a great blessing. Not many people have that kind of privilege to have 2 acres. And we do it completely organically and in a sustainable and permaculture way. So we make all our compost, all our kitchen waste goes on the compost, all our green which comes from the garden. Look at the cauliflower. Cauliflower is a beautiful flower, but it has got a wonderful wrapping, green wrapping, the leaves, and that we can put on the compost, and that becomes food for the soil. So it's a complete cycle of growing food. So we are, I would say, 80% self-sufficient in our needs for vegetables and fruit. I go to farmers market sometimes. There is a farmers market in our village in Heartland, which is organized by the small school which I established in Heartland. The small school is a school for children where children also grow food and cook food. I said to our children in the small school that you cannot have good education on bad diet. We will teach you Darwin and Shakespeare and Newton and Galileo and French and all the other academic subjects after you have learned how to grow food and how to cook food. So every child learns to grow food and cook food. So we have a beautiful garden in the small school. I believe that this is a good example. Every British school should have a garden. Every British school should have a kitchen. Every child should learn to grow food and cook food. I'm glad that the new government and the new education minister, Mr. Gove, has initiated this idea that children should learn to cook food. I think that's a very good idea, but they should go a step further, and every school must have a vegetable patch. And every school in Britain should learn, and children in every school in Britain should learn to grow food locally. That is the first step towards a wonderful future with permaculture.
Brilliant. Okay. Education is also obviously a passion for you about how people can learn about the food system and growing and consuming. So you also co-founded Schumacher College. Tell us a little bit about that.
As I established the small school, many people asked me that the small school is only for the children. What about the adults? So we said, let us start a college for the adults, where adults can learn not only science and economics and sustainability ideas, but also they can live sustainably. So we created a college where there's a garden, and all our students participate in gardening and cooking. I, for the last 20 years, have been cooking every week at Schumacher College. And for us, kitchen is the classroom. For us, garden is the classroom. When you are putting one seed in the ground, in the soil, in relationship with the soil, water, sunshine, and that seed comes out as a plant. And that plant has blossom, and the blossom has a fruit. What whole process of watching and observing life unfolding and life emerging out of that seed is a real education. So I would say the garden, particularly permaculture garden, the forest garden, is the best classroom for biology, for chemistry, for physics, for poetry, for economics, for politics. Every subject you can learn in the garden.
Brilliant. And today's children, they're going to grow up in a global society. So how are you growing local globally?
I would say think global, act local. So I'm all for spreading ideas globally, but wherever we go, and we are promoting Schumacher College worldwide. So Schumacher College ideas are spreading in Hong Kong, in Australia, in the United States, in India. For example, in India, there is a wonderful woman called Vandana Shiva. She is a regular teacher at Schumacher College, and now she has established 50-acre farm, a biodiverse permaculture farm in North India. And it's a 50 acres with 500 mango trees and guava trees and lemons and oranges and papayas and hundreds of varieties of rice and lentils and all the kinds of vegetables. 50-acre farm. There also we have a school for sustainability similar to Schumacher College, and students come from all over the world, and I go there every year to teach a Gandhi and globalization course. So that's one example of Schumacher worldwide, where we can encourage, inspire, inform, educate young people to go back to the land and learn to grow food. Because I think everybody in the world, without any exception, should have some time on the land. Everybody should have opportunity to touch the soil. Even part-time growing food is permaculture principle. Everybody, even if you live in the city, even if you are working in offices, at least 1 day a week, 2 days a week, few hours a week, every day few hours, you can do something. So the permaculture principle is that everybody should have opportunity to touch the soil, deal with the seeds and grow some plants, some even 1%, 2%, 5% of your food. If you grow yourself, at least you are in touch with your food. Otherwise, we are out of touch. We think food comes from the supermarket. We think food comes from a plastic wrapping. It doesn't. It comes from the soil. We don't know the soil. We don't touch the soil. All the cities are concrete, asphalt and buildings. So we have lost our connection with the soil.
Yeah. You spoke there about a course in Gandhian principles, and I think you started out quite early as a global citizen, coming to the UK over 50 years ago now, and you were persuaded to stay, so to be editor of Resurgence magazine, correct?
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about your work with Resurgence and the ecologists.
Yeah. It was in 1973 when I was visiting England on a lecture tour, and at that time, I met E.F. Schumacher, the author of Small is Beautiful, and he was involved with Resurgence magazine, which was started by a group of people, and the first editor was John Papworth, and John Papworth had gone to Africa. So E.F. Schumacher said to me, then why don't you take up the editorship of Resurgence? And I said, no, I want to go back to India. He said, why? I said, I want to work with the Gandhian movement. Schumacher said, Satish, there are many Gandhians in India. We need one in England. So please stay here and edit Resurgence magazine. And so I was persuaded. And I said to Schumacher, if I become the editor of Resurgence, will you contribute an article in every issue? And Schumacher said, yes, that is the deal. I will contribute an article in every issue if you become the editor. So I became the editor in 1973. So this is my 40th anniversary of editing Resurgence magazine. For 40 years, I have dedicated my life, committed my life. So editing Resurgence magazine is an act of devotion, an act of commitment, an act of dedication for the movement, for sustainability, for ecology, for holistic thinking, for holistic economics, for permaculture, for organic farming, for biodiversity. These are my profound values. And also I believe in aesthetic pursuit of life, elegant simplicity. I like to live simply but beautifully. I want to enjoy life. If there's no dance, there's no music, there's no art, there's no beauty, then that movement for sustainability is not good enough for me. I don't want to join a movement which has no beauty, no dance, no music, no good food. I want to celebrate life. And so Resurgence is an organ of celebrating life as it is, celebrating nature. Nature is the source of all life, and therefore Resurgence magazine. And now it is merged with The Ecologist. So Resurgence and Ecologist are one publication together. So Ecologist used to be more focused on political, scientific, academic presentation of sustainability and ecology. Resurgence was more philosophical, spiritual and artistic. Now these two wings have come together, and now we can be truly holistic. We can be political as well as poetic. We can have ecological as well as economic. And so there is no contradiction between poetry and politics. There is no contradiction between economy and ecology. They are two sides of the same coin. We must bring them together, and we must make economy ecological. We must make politics poetic. Then it is a holistic worldview, and that is represented in the magazine, Resurgence and Ecologist. And also we run two websites, theecologist.org, which is a very popular, 150,000 people visit every month. And then we also run resurgence.org. So these are the two websites for one magazine.
We spoke briefly there. You have experience of two amazing influential cultures in the UK and India. And we've spoken a little bit about how permaculture fits in with other themes like politics and economy. We see India racing ahead, UK racing ahead. You know, progress we see as economic process, as ever-increasing technology. It seems, in a way, to be moving away from permaculture, if anything. Do you see that these large cultures like India and UK, can permaculture play a mainstream role? Can it feed these populations?
Rome was built not in one day. It takes time. So permaculture ideas will also take time. Already permaculture is becoming very popular. And we are seeing that more and more people are seeing the cycle of life and a cycle of time. And they see that when you are taking soil that is connected with energy, and energy is connected with your house, and house waste is connected with the soil again. So it's energy, household life, and soil, and sunshine, and rain, and earthworms. Everything is part of one big system. And that one big system, and appreciating and embracing, is the future. Because this industrial society, mechanized and mechanistic society, which we have built in India and in the UK and in Europe and in the United States, everywhere, this is only for last 100, 150 years. It's not very long in the geological frame of time and the scale of that time. This is like a blink of an eye. What is 100 and 200 years? Nothing. And so this will pass, because this is not sustainable. This cannot last, because the resources are limited. Finite earth. You cannot have infinite economic growth in a finite world. So it is not going to last. So we have to develop new, alternative, sustainable, resilient models. And permaculture is one of the most beautiful and perfect model for resilient, sustainable, ecological and joyful way of life. And therefore, I think future is permaculture.
Okay. Okay, so just to conclude, tell us a little bit about your future. I mean, you founded things in the past, but what do you see your role now in permaculture, but beyond permaculture, your work with Resurgence as well?
I have been in England now for 40 years. I have been editing Resurgence magazine. That has been embraced by most of the environmental movement and organic and permaculture movement. And therefore, Resurgence is liked and appreciated and supported by the whole environmental movement. Now I'm very fortunate that the Resurgence and Ecologists are working together as one magazine and two websites working together. And so my future service for the environmental movement, ecological movement, and organic permaculture farming movement is to unite the movement. At the moment, there's a lot of fragmentation. Various organizations are working in their own niche. I think the movement is bigger than any organization. So we should rise above our fragmentation and organizational patch and do not think that just getting membership for our organization is the be-all and end-all. We need to see ourselves as part of one big ecological, environmental, organic, permaculture movement, which includes Greenpeace, which includes WWF, which includes Soil Association, which includes Friends of the Earth, which includes Forum for the Future, which includes business, politics. Everything must come together as a holistic ecological movement, has many organs, many different aspects and dimensions, but they are part of one big movement. If we see ourselves as part of one big movement, then we can be more effective and we can influence more people. So my mission at this moment and for the next few years while I have energy is to bring the entire movement together.
Thank you very much, and we're going to really appreciate that energy, I think.
You are welcome.
Thank you. And thank you on behalf of International Permaculture Day.
You are welcome.
Thank you.